Welcome back to Transfer Talk. We're going to get to the other side of the world right now and to lovely Brazil. Last week, Tim Vickery was here in the studio with us. He's hot-footed it back to South America. I think we probably all should have done that, guys. Why are we sitting in the studio? We should all be there with Tim doing it in person. It's winter there, is it, Tim?
Yes, it is. Yeah, so dark by 6 o'clock and a bit cold at the moment. It was lovely to come into the studio and meet some of you there last week. This week being back home means there's always the risk that my dog might want to contribute to the discussion. Didier Dogba may have a few thoughts during the next few minutes.
I really hope that is his name. That is amazing. Let's start with Manuel Ugarte. We spoke about when you were in the studio last week. Yeah. Are Man United any closer to that deal?
It certainly seems that will be the case. The defensive midfielder currently at Paris Saint-Germain, Uruguayan. The Uruguayan press are certainly saying that the two clubs are inching closer to an agreement. We were talking last week about the possibility here for some kind of transfer window poker, and that would seem to be happening. I was speaking to a Uruguayan journalist yesterday who says that this move is very close. And it will be a fabulous opportunity for Ugarte. It will be a club that maybe suits him much more than the ego factory of Paris Saint-Germain.
Just for those who weren't watching last week and who don't know too much about him, what kind of player is he? What would he add to Manchester United?
Well, I think we're all in agreement last week that he would be the kind of player who fits the hole that there is currently in the Man United side, how easy they were to play through last season. He reminds me a lot of a young version of Javier Mascherano, the former Argentine holding midfielder. Same kind of tenacity, same kind of positional sense, same kind of leadership skills in a quiet way, same kind of crisp forward passing. And one person who would seem to agree with that assessment is the former Leeds coach, Marcelo Bielsa, who was the one who promoted Mascherano to the senior team at Argentina, and now in charge of Uruguay. That's exactly what Bielsa has done with Ugarte. So it's going to be a lot of money that they're going to have to pay. Paris Saint-Germain paid 60 million euros to get him from Sporting Lisbon, and they want to recoup as much of that as possible. So it's going to be a lot of money, but this is a player, I believe, who fills a hole that was present there in the United side last season.
Hi, Tim. Plenty of other names to discuss as well. Ramon Sza has been linked to Nottingham Forest. Could you see that happening as well?
Yes, although this seems to be dragging out a little bit. His club, Talleres in Argentina, they've got a massive game tonight in South America's Champions League, and it doesn't look like he's going to play because he's trying to force this move with Nottingham Forest leading the pack. Ramon Sza, he's a Paraguayan winger. He's something of a late developer. He's 25 later this month. Never played for any of the Paraguayan youth sides, but he's really taken off in the last couple of years in football in Argentina, especially with this club, Talleres of Cordoba. Strong winger, right-footed, usually plays wide left, cutting in. He can go outside as well. And certainly for the Paraguayan national side over the last few months, he's been outperforming Almiron of Newcastle. I don't think he's going to be a world beater in the Premier League, but he's strong enough to cope. He can work back and put in a defensive shift, and he's a powerful force going forward. So Forest, who've done so well with their buying in from South America, they've had some real successes, and hopefully, if they can get this deal done, Ramon Sza will be another one.
Tim, I'm disappointed you haven't rocked up in a bright shirt today. You've just gone white with the grey. I'm gutted. But anyway, Everton apparently they like Vitor Roque at Barcelona. Can you tell us a bit about him?
Yeah, well, I can't compete with your infinite variety of green stripes, so I decided to keep it simple. Yeah, the Vitor Roque story. This really could be one of the stories of the transfer window. Vitor Roque is a Brazilian centre forward. He's 19. He's already played for Brazil at senior level. And when he came out of Brazil from Atlético Paranaense, he was really seen as the man. This is a little bit before the rise of Endrick, who's now joined Real Madrid. And Vitor Roque was seen as, look, this is at last, we have a centre forward. Barrel-chested, strong, mobile, very talented. This is the one. And then he's gone to Barcelona, and it's been a disaster. He's only started 2 games. He's played, I think, 16 in all, scored 2 goals, but he's hardly got on the field. And I think there are faults here on both sides. perhaps a lack of patience from him, certainly a lack of patience from his entourage. Trying to put pressure on Barcelona to pick him. Xavi, the previous coach, obviously didn't think too much of him. We thought with a change of coaching regime, he may get more chances. He hasn't yet. So perhaps it hasn't worked. Perhaps he might be more suited to a side that play a counter-attacking game. But this move now, moving away from Barcelona, it's absolutely vital for his career. He needs to recover momentum. But there really is a player there. There really is. Hasn't worked out at one club. That doesn't mean that the player can be written off. Now, from Barcelona's point of view, you would have thought that they would really need a deal to be done, because they've got players that they're struggling to register, to balance the books, and whoever gets him, and it's Everton who seem to be in pole position, there really is a diamond there. And we may be looking back at this in 5 or 10 years' time and thinking, what a move that was. So look out for this one, because Victor Roque to Everton or anywhere else, anywhere away from Barcelona, it could be one of the big stories of this transfer window.
Tim, Bournemouth had an offer or they've had an offer rejected by Porto for their striker Evan Nilsson. Obviously scored a lot of goals in Portugal last season. Yeah. Can you tell us if that deal's going to get done, and what sort of player is he?
He's a live wire striker. He wasn't particularly rated when he played in Brazil for Fluminense, and he's been now at Porto for a few years, and he's built up his career there. Got in the Brazil squad for the Copa America. It was a last-minute thing. On the day that the squad was being called up, Richarlison picked up an injury, so he was left out, and Evan Nilsson came in. I don't think he impressed too much for Brazil, because he hardly got on the pitch, even when they were looking for goals. But he's done extremely well at Porto, especially last season, as a kind of live wire mobile striker. But the 30 million euro offer from Bournemouth, and his buyout clause, I think, is 100. So Porto don't really want to sell because he's so important to them. And if Bournemouth are going to get him, I think they're going to have to up that offer considerably.
Let's finish off with Vinny Jr. Then, Tim, there has been some stories recently about the Saudi Pro League saying that they're not interested in Vinicius Junior. Is there more to it than that?
Well, perhaps. I mean, this is unofficial, as I understand it. And I don't quite know how this has got out, how this has got into the public domain. But there was, it seems, an informal offer that would mean that he would earn 13 times more than he currently earns at Real Madrid. Now, you might pose the question, well, how many Ferraris can you drive, for crying out loud? But remember, there's an entourage in there as well. These players, they support a lot of people. There's a huge entourage. And I do some stuff for TV over here in Brazil. And some of his entourage had contacted Brazilian TV and saying, we're not ruling this out. We're not ruling this out. So it could be the case that the player may not be tempted, but the entourage, looking at all those zeros, the entourage might be thinking, well, how about it? How about it? But I think we can conclude this. If there is something concrete there, and if Vinny Jr. were to accept this, he's going to disappoint a lot of people back home in Brazil, not only because sporting reasons, not only for that, but also because one of the things that makes Vinny so important is his absolute fearlessness in speaking about anything. He will take anything on, hold his head up high, and meet that issue head on. Will he be able to do that in Saudi Arabia? So in terms of, cynically, you might call it brand management, it may end up being a gilded cage if he were to go down that route. I can't imagine him wanting to do that at this stage in his career, but there will be people in his entourage whispering in his ear, how can you turn this amount of money down?
We will keep an eye on that. Great to talk to you, Tim, and thanks very much to Didier. Give him a treat or something.
He earns one. He's kept quiet for the full 10 minutes, so he's earned a treat. He's going walkies now.
Oh, good lad. Cheers, Dids. All right, we'll speak to you soon.